Today is the day that I review Global Goldfest. So let's get straight into it. Let's not waste any time. Alright, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. It's your boy True Inferno. Today's day is Tuesday, June the 7th. So, as you heard at the beginning of this video, we are going to review Global Goldfest. Why I couldn't say the word go? I don't know what that was. But anywho, I've been doing this for a while now, and we're gonna basically continue on with this yearly tradition. Now, granted, there are a grand total of 4 more Goldfests left. We got the Berlin joint, which I will not be going to. We got the Seattle joint, which I will be going to. We got the Sapporo, Japan one, which I'm hoping to go to. And then there's the one that a lot of people tend to forget about, and that is the August 27 one. And we're gonna talk about that one in a second. Now, let's start off with the Global Goldfest that happened this past weekend. So, once again, Goldfest was in the midst of another controversy, especially the global versions, that is. So, before we get into all that, let's talk about the good, the meh, and the bad about Global Goldfest. Let's start off with the good. So, once again, different habitats that rotated twice. So, this is something that they've been doing since 2020's Global Goldfest, really. And this is obviously a consistent thing. Now we starting to see this now for consecutive Global Goldfests. So this is good. I have no problem with this whatsoever. You know, mix it up per hour and then have that same habitat come back a second time. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. Keep that up. Next up, the day 2 shiny rates were good. So the day 2 this is actually funny. The day 2 shiny rates were better than day 1. And a lot of people confirm this, especially myself. But yeah, the day 2 shiny rates were much better than day 1. So, would it be enough still for me to say that saved Global Goldfest? Probably not, especially after the stuff that I was hearing Saturday night. Yeah, but this is still good. It's still good that the shiny rates for day 2 were better than day 1. Speaking of day 1 raids only had 1 to 2 desirable Pokemon, really. And it's really all about the actual raids for day 1. That was basically the main, and for most people, the only thing that they were doing. Now, granted, there were some people who were doing the Pikachu with the flower on his head. They were doing that raid. They were doing Kyogre and Groudon. I was getting invites to those 2 legendaries, even though I was not doing anything but actual raids. But the main thing was action. So there wasn't like a bunch of raids that for people to say, oh man, I gotta do that raid, I gotta do that raid, I gotta do that raid all in day 1, because it would have been too much. So the fact that there was really 1 to 2, maybe 3 desirable raid bosses on day 1, I had no problem with that at all. I think that's a very good thing. It cut down on the number of stuff that we have to do at Global Goldfest, or in this case at day 1. Moving on to something else that was good. We got a lot of items. Now, granted, let's be real, these items are really, and I think in the minds of Niantic, the items are the main thing that we're paying for. So we talking about the, the star pieces. We talking about the poppins. We talking about the Pokeballs. We talking about the berries. And depending on which path you chose, whether it's catch, explore, or battle, raid passes, incense, which those 2 were good, or incubators, which were meh, and I will explain why all that's meh later on in the video. So, and speaking of choices, relax, standard, master, those were good. So yeah, I like the fact that we got choices to either play with ease, because we don't want to spend a lot of time worry about the special research tasks, or you might be in an area where there's not a lot of spawns, there's not a lot of Pokestops, there's not a lot of Pokegems for you to spin Pokestops and all that stuff. So you want to just get the special research tags as over as quickly as possible so you can get back to shiny hunting or hanging out with the community, whichever one you prioritize. So the fact that there was 3 difficulty options for you to choose, that was good. Now, I chose Master because I knew for a fact that I could get away with it, and I did. I completed it on Saturday. So it was no big deal for me. Now, another good thing, the raid timers. Just like the different habitats that rotated twice, the raid timers, that's another it's starting to become a tradition with Global Go Fest, as the raid bosses would show up in this egg form, and it'll be like 15 minutes before it hatches. Once it hatches, the raid boss would be there for like 25 minutes, and then once the raid boss disappears, like that gym would be empty for 5 minutes before another egg. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's up with me. No, I'm not sick. It would be another 5 minutes before another egg would spawn, and you know, we start that rotation all over again. So I like the raid timers, so that again, that's something they've been doing ever since 2020's Global Go Fest, and that's something that they should keep up. And then speaking of raids, we got free 9 regular raid passes per day. So that's giving us a grand total of 18. Now, I don't recall using all 9 on day 1, but I sure as heck did on day 2. I certainly did on day 2. But I like the fact that we got 9 regular raid passes. Now, there's one complaint about that, and this ain't a Global Go Fest thing. This is a, in general, Pokemon Go thing. Why couldn't they stack? That's the thing that I don't get. I mean, granted, they want you to go out and get these raid passes rather and stay out to get more raid passes, so that's why they don't stack. But I mean, it's at a point where it's like, yo, when you talking about 9, people like, for example, I wasn't counting, so I had no clue if I used all 9 or not. I had no idea. That's a nitpick in terms of this feature, but nevertheless, the fact that we basically got 18 regular raid passes, assuming you used all 18, was good. It was really, really good. And that's pretty much all the good stuff that happened at Global Go Fest. Now let's talk about from the good to the meh. So speaking of raids, now here's the thing that happened. Once I got done doing my outro for my Global Go Fest video that I drop on Monday, I talked to these 3 guys who were playing at the Civic Center Dearborn Saturday and Sunday. So, you know, they drove up, they heard me take, you know, give my outro, mention the amount of shinies that I caught throughout Global Go Fest. And we talked for about, what, 5 to 8 minutes. And we were talking about some of the stuff that was good and bad about Global Go Fest. And the thing that they said was that they were doing action raids within the first hour of Global Go Fest on Saturday. And every action that they caught was either 2 stars or lower. Now, I had to check mine to see if this was actually accurate or not. Now, I think my very first one was a 96, a 93, something like that. But I had, like, you know, my first 2, 3, or 4 were 3 stars. And I was doing raids within that hour, within that first hour, because I wanted a second shiny Axu. So I was doing raids within that, you know, that first hour. So maybe it was them. So if that's you, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, so if this happened to you, let me know in the comment section below. But that didn't happen to me. So that's why it's a meh. It's a questionable meh, because I'm not sure if that should be mentioned or not. I don't know. But I'm just putting it out there since they brought it up to me. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let me see if this happened to anybody else. Moving on. Speaking of, you know how I said that the fact that we get to choose our difficulty regarding the special research was a good thing? Well, the mad part about that is, it don't matter which one you chose, you were getting the same rewards. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So, you know, I understand why they did that, because not many people would be forced to go for Master, even though they might be at an area that only have 1 Pokestop. So, I mean, I get that. But I kind of wish that they were different rewards for each difficulty setting. So if you chose Relax, you would have got this. If you chose Standard, you would have got this. If you would have chose Master, you would have got this. Now, granted, that's where the sticker come to play. But, you know, I was hoping for, you know, a part of me would have liked something else, you know, alongside with Master. Because Master was, I will admit, like, Master, even though I completed and it was no big deal, but you had to put a lot of time and effort into completing Master. Like, you really, really did. And I was kind of hoping, you know, maybe a part of me, right, we're hoping to get something else as a reward besides the gold sticker. And I think there was like 25 of those. That made me say, yo, I'm completing this at Master difficulty. I'm a Master. But maybe 100 of those stickers so I can really brag for like the next 4 to 5 months. That would have been cool. But outside of that, maybe some other type of reward, you know, a little extra of something. But again, this is a small man. Because I'm not going to complain too much about this, because I like the reasoning why they went behind it. So people won't be forced to do the Master because of the rewards are different for Master than they are for Standard and Relax. So I get that, I understand that, and that makes sense. But, you know, a small part of me would like a little reward for completing that Master besides the 22, 25, I think it's 22 because they trying to keep up with the year 2022. The 22 gold stickers that I can give to other people. You know, no big deal, whatever. Now, going back to raids. So, I don't know what it was like for you guys in your area, wherever you were at. But for me, on day 2, Snorlax and Druddigon did not spawn until nearly the halfway point of day 2. And this was also to a degree with Rockworld. Rockworld spawned prior to those two, but it wasn't like, but it took a while for me to see Rockworld, and it took a longer amount of time for me to see Snorlax. Now keep in mind, we talking about the Civic Center in Dearborn. There are 8 gyms at that location, and I have to think about it, I think it's like 6 additional gyms outside of the Civic Center from Dearborn that I can access with a remote raid pass. And I did not see Rockruff until later. I didn't see Snorlax and Druddigon until much later. So now the reason why this is a mess is because this happened to me and basically everybody who was at the Civic Center in Dearborn. Was that the case for you? I don't know. If it was the case, then this is a bad. That's a bad. If it was not, then it's a mad because it just happened at my general location. So let me know in the comment section below. Were you getting Snorlax and Druddigons and Rockruffs all day long? Or did they not spawn until a certain point later on during your day 2? So let me know in the comment section below. Another mad is this. No field research task. So that one, I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping on this one, but like 2020, 2021, were there field research tasks that were themed with Goldfest? And you know, cause we didn't get that this year. And I'm not complaining, but I don't know. Again, a small part of me, you know how it is with me wanting a more of a reward for completing the special research at a master difficulty. A small part of me was like, yo, where's the field research? There was no Goldfest edition field research task. So a part of me was like, wow, okay, that's awkward. But at the same time, I'm not losing sleep over it. So there's that. And here's something else that I'm not losing sleep over, and that is this. No Goldfest eggs. So there was no eggs that were tailored toward Goldfest. You know, like they would just give you 2K kilometer eggs only, and they would be eggs that have Pokemon that are tailored towards Goldfest. And well, obviously, you know, Goldfest Pass, I think they would do that back in the day, but you had to deal with the egg animations and all that crap. And nowadays, you can just tap to have the eggs very quickly and just get through them within 10 seconds, depending on how many eggs you have. You know, it could be less than that. So the fact that we got that feature, but there was no special Goldfest eggs, it was like, it was I was like, man, a small part of me wanted that, but at the same time, I'm not losing sleep over that. So that's why it's a mess. And that's pretty much all the mess that I have here. Now, oh boy. We're gonna go from the meh to the bad. So, the number one bad, let's get this out of the way right here, right now. The number one bad, the shiny rates. The shiny rates were god awful. Let's be real. This was the worst shiny rates in Goldfest history. In person, virtual, I don't care. This was the worst shiny rates in Goldfest history based on what I heard and based on what I experienced. And you know it's bad, and really, like, this is actually a form of false advertising, because even though that they changed that website, by the way, but you could go to Web Archives or the RaidbackMachine.com, whatever the case may be, and click on any day before Goldfest started. But if you look on the website, it legit says that, yo, increased shiny rates, and the shiny rates will be better on Saturday than they are on Sunday. Neither one of those happened. And the reason why I'm accusing this as false advertising is, keep in mind, we paid for this. $15 or the relevant currency within your local area, but you get the point. $15, we paid for this. So for the shiny rates to suck and not really be increased, and for the shiny rates on Sunday to be better than Saturday, which was not advertised, that's a problem. That's a really, really big problem. So let me also compare my shinies from last year's to this year's. So this year, if you saw my video, my GoFest video that I released on Monday, day 1 shinies, I caught 23 shinies. And some of you might say, well, wait a minute. That's not bad for you. Granted, I drove around, but that's not bad for you. Most of you are probably saying that because I heard how many shinies a lot of you guys and gals got, like between 2 and 7. That's pretty much was the average. So y'all probably think to yourself, why am I complaining about getting 23 shinies? Let me continue on with that. Sunday, day 2, I got 27 shinies for a grand total of 50. That's this year. That's this past weekend. Here's day 1 from last year. 44 shinies. That's a huge difference from day 1, 44 shinies from 2001 to 23 of this year. And I drove around both all the time. Every single, wait, no, that's not true. Not 2020. 2021 and 2022, I drove around Saturday and Sunday looking for shinies. Day 1, 44 to 23. That's a huge drop off if you ask me. Now, granted, day 2 last year, I only caught 11 shinies. Now, at the same time, shiny Snorlax was in the route, in the raids, so I was looking for that. So there was that. And then again, they increased the shiny rates of day 2 this year. They didn't do that last year, because remember last year, the shiny rates was going to be increased, and day 1 was going to be better than day 2. That was said last year, and the fact that I got 44 on day 1 and 11 on day 2 is evidence of that. Here is flip-flop. And even though it's flip-flop, it's still not good. We focus on that day 1. That day 1 was not good. Now, last year I caught 50 shinies, and this year I caught 55. But it still doesn't change the fact that that day 1 was terrible. No, I take the back. 55 I caught last year. 50 it was how many I caught this year. So I messed that up. But nevertheless, it still doesn't change the fact that my day 1, everybody's day 1 this year was terrible. And the shiny rates were not increased at all. They were not increased at all. Now, let's move on from the shiny rates to the spawns themselves. The spawns, although they were not bad actually, but they could have been so much better. And that's why it's still bad. Let me explain something to you real quick. Last year, Global Goldfest, there was 54 spawns. This year, there were 65. Last year, out of those 54, 42 of them were shinies. This year, out of 65, 43 of them were shinies, which means there was a smaller percentage of shinies available this year than last year. So keep that in mind as well. Now, in both years, there were 10 Community Day Pokemon that were spawning. 10 last year, 10 this year. We're going to get more about that Community Day scenario in a second, because that is so not necessary. Now, another thing that was wrong with the spawns, they had evolved spawns. So let me break it down. They had 12 evolved spawns, 3 per habitat. So in the city, we had Gothorita, Alolan Mug, and Goluk. Habitat, we had Rochdor, Vibrata, and Stoutland. Rainforest, we had Grotto, or actually Habitat, that's plains actually. Rainforest, we had Grotto, Monferno, and Dragale. In Tundra, we had Celio, Prinplup, and Beartic. And not a single one of these can be shiny. So with that said, my question is this. Why were they there? Why were they at Global Goldfest? They were not necessary. They were not needed. And most of them was like huge, so they were covering other Pokemon, Alolan Mug. But why were they there? We did not need to see these evolved shinies spawning anywhere. In a wild, oh God, especially not in the instance, not from lure modules, anywhere. We did not need to see them anywhere. And for some odd reason, a Roselia spawned near a Pokestop, and I got that as a shiny. I don't know how that happened, but nevertheless, we did not need the evolved spawns at all. If they're not going to be shiny, don't put them and go. Don't know. Do not have them show up at Global Goldfest. That is a gigantic no. Don't do that. Now, speaking of spawns, the unknown spawns were terrible. So, the unknown spawns can only spawn from instance, and how many times? This is the 3rd year when I keep complaining about the unknown spawns and how, the instant spawns and all that jazz. The unknown spawn, I think I probably saw a grand total, believe it or not, of 12 unknown spawns. Saturday and Sunday. And I had an instance on the entire time. That's terrible. That's terrible. So naturally, I got 0 unknown shinies. Not granted, not everybody supposed to get a shiny unknown. I get that, understand that. But when you're not seeing them because a lonely muck is taking its place, or I got like, ooh, and this is something that we're gonna talk about too, like 2 Tropiuses in a row or Panchams in a row, whatever the case may be, and I'm seeing Community Day spawns popping up from an instance. I'm like, no, we don't need to see that. We need to see more unknowns. And speaking of instant spawns, the instant spawns are terrible again. Now this is the part right here. I keep saying this year after year after year. We do not need to see these Community Day Pokemon spawning from an instance. We do not need to see the evolved spawns spawning from an instance. You know, we do not see these common Pokemon spawning from an instance. Like, if there's certain Pokemon that can only spawn from instance, they're the only ones I should be seeing. Like, that's my belief. I should only see these Pokemon spawn from an instance. And then here's another thing about that. Like, they were mentioning how, what is it? Galarian Darumaka, Axu, Pancham, and I forgot what the other one was. There was one more Pokemon that was instance only, but yet I was seeing them spawning around too. And not only was I seeing them spawning around as a ticket holder, but I was informed that they were spawning around even if you didn't have a ticket. So I'm like, what? Why? Why is that a thing? Why is that a thing? So the instant spawns were terrible. They were flat out terrible. And again, I talked about this a little bit a few seconds ago. I had back-to-back spawns for the instance. Again, I was in day one. It was Tropius. Like, I was seeing Tropius spawning back-to-back multiple times in day one. And day two, oh my God, it was Pancham and Mr. Mind, that Galarian Mr. Mind. I'm now sick and tired of seeing Pancham. I'm this close from despising Pancham. I despise Young Goose because I cannot get that shiny to save my life. Dunsparce is lucky to be off my radar. But now Pancham is this close for being on my list of Pokemon that I despise, because I keep seeing that thing spawn from an instance on Sunday. And I'm like, can I get some variety, please? Besides Pancham and that Galarian Mr. Mime. No, I do not want to see those two constantly. No. And then, of course, another thing that was a major issue that we talked about was the bugs. So, I'm not sure how many of you guys experienced this, but I experienced this. Those 3 guys that I talked to experienced this as well, and that is it. If you load up a Pokestop, you were seeing duplicate spawns. So here's what I mean by that. Let's pretend that little old me right here is a Pokestop and somebody lured me up. I feel like I need to say pause on that, but moving on. All of a sudden, we have a Chimchar just spawned right here. 23 CP Chimchar. And then all of a sudden, we have another Chimchar. Thinking, oh, these might be 2 different Chimchars. Nope. 23 CP. Both of these. Chimchars, 23 CP. Okay, I click on this one, or either one, don't matter. Let's say I click on this one. I caught it. It's in my bag. So now this one left. Okay, let me catch this one too. Disappears. I'm like, what? Like, what is this cheese? So yes, we had duplicate spawns at lower Pokestops. And I was like, what is this? So there's that. Now, and then of course, speaking of that whole, I click on this one, disappeared. Speaking of that, I almost dropped my Switch thing. I had to click on Pokemon for them to disappear. So that was the major bug right there. So you have to click on Pokemon whether it's from an instance or even from lower Pokestops. If you click on that Pokemon, they will disappear. And it's weird. It's very, very weird. They even talked about it on their Twitter that they was addressing it, that they was working on it. I don't think it got fixed. Matter of fact, I was out for Spotlight Hour for Nose Pads. I got the shiny, by the way. And I had to do that today too. I click on the Nose Pads, from an instance, it disappeared. So, I don't know what's up with that. That needs to be fixed. ASAP. That needs to be fixed. As my Joy-Con, that's what it's called, almost failed. That needs to be fixed. Speaking of Pokestops, Team Go Rocket grunts at the Pokestops. Why are they there? Because we got them up in the balloons virtually all day. Day 1 and day 2. Why are we seeing them at Pokestops? Like, you know, people are trying to click on the Pokemon at the Pokestop, or they just want to simply spin it. But instead, we got to deal with the Team Go Rocket grunt and say, aha, you just click on this Pokestop. There's not a lot of items here because I did something to them. I'm like, no, I'm trying to click on the Pokemon behind your right foot. Go right. So they add nothing to the Goldfest experience. I don't know, right? Not only were they there, they were like virtually all over the place, especially on Sunday, on day 2. Especially on day 2. We do not need Tingo Rocket Grunts at Goldfest, at Global Goldfest, at the Pokestop, that is. And speaking of which, they were involved in Sunday's special research, which means you had to battle them. You had to, take up time that you would use for shiny checking, because you had that instance that were going off like every 80 seconds or so. But you have to take time aside to do the Tingo Rocket Grunts battles. And I'm like, no. Now, granted, it was only 2, but still though, no. Again, we do not need Tingo Rocket Grunts to be involved with Global Goldfest, or really Tingo Rocket at all to be involved at Global Goldfest. We don't need that. We really don't need that. Now, speaking of the Sunday special research, it wasn't all that special to me. There was really nothing rewarding from that. Obviously, the new Ultra Beats, that was like the main reward from that. But like last year, there was something to work for, because I think it was like Shiny Mew or something like that. Like, oh yeah, if you complete this, then you're gonna get another one, and you gotta complete over a period of X amount of days. Or maybe I'm thinking of Go Tour, but that was something special. Here, it was like, not really, not really. So I don't know, it was lackluster. Now granted, it was only 3 pages, which I had no problem with that at all. That was great. Like, yeah, let me get this out the way real quick, then get back to shiny hunting. I had no problem with that whatsoever. But never, at the same time, it was still lackluster. Because again, we paid $15 for this, so stuff can't be lackluster. So it was that. Now, another interesting thing that happened was this. We only got 2 special trades per day, and that was not because of Global Goldfest. That's the norm because of the season of Go. That's the bonus. So the fact that there was like no 6 special trades Saturday and Sunday or anything crazy like that, it was like, what? What happened to the special trades? So, like, we needed more special trades than 2. Now, granted, did I trade with anybody on either one of those days? No. But to me, that was awkward. I felt like, yeah, we should have got up to 6 special trades per day on Saturday and on Sunday. And then I talked about this last year. I talked about this a year before, and that is this: free remote raid passes. I don't think we got that. Remember, Sister Craig, I don't think we got that this year. Obviously, we got the free regular raid passes where we have to go out and spend a photo disc at a gym to get one, and then use it and spend another one to get another one, stuff like that. But there was no free remote raid passes. Again, we paid $15 for this. So, again, I don't remember. We might have got like a set of 3, but I remember there was a box that you had to pay extra Pokecoins for to get that. But I don't remember if they gave us free remote raid passes, like 3 or anything like that. So if they did, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll just disregard that last bag. So, with all that out the way, how should they change Global Goldfest from this point going forward? So, here's what I think they should do. Those community day spawns that we got last year and this year, where it was 10 last year and this year, that should be reduced from 10 to 4. 1 per habitat. Because now I understand potentially why they did it, because there's a lot of new players in the game, people who missed out on a number of community day spawns, or community days rather. So this is a way of them to potentially get those shinies. Well, last time I checked, there was an event in December called the yearly Go Community Day event, where every single Pokemon that had his own community day that year and the prior year was spawned in December for the entire weekend. And yeah, the shiny chances were up there for you to get those shinies. So if you missed out for any reason, that's what that community day weekend was for. That's not what GoFest is for. GoFest is for different shinies, for new shinies, for more exciting shinies, not community day shinies. So it should be 4. Now, I'm not saying it should be 0, but it should be 4 community day spawns at GoFest. 1 community day spawn per habitat. It should not be 10, because that's too much. That is way too much. Another thing that needs to change is this, and I said this before. I said this multiple times. I said this year after year, 2020, 2021. I'm going to say it again this year. Incense only spawns should be the only Pokemon spawning from incense. I should not be seeing a Chimchar or a Turtwig or anything like that spawning from an incense. I should not be seeing that at all. I should be seeing from an incense the Pokemon that were promised to be incense only, which is funny. I think I said this earlier in the video, but I'm gonna say it again just in case I didn't say it. Like, they were advertising, aside from the unknowns and the Pikachus, they were advertising, actually, yeah, the Pikachus, yeah, the Pikachus. They were advertising the Panchams. They were advertising Galarian Darumaka and Axu to be spawning from the instance only. And yet, I was seeing those in a row. So, the only Pokemon I did not see spawn in a row was the unknown. So, I'm like, what? Why? So, that needs to be changed. So, again, if the Pokemon can only spawn from instance, they should be the only ones I should be seeing spawning from the instance. Again, I should not be seeing Trophy. Wait, no, not Trophies. Okay, I'll let that one slide. That's a regional. But I should not be seeing a Lonely Monk. I should not be seeing a Chimchar or a Beartick or anything like that spawning from an instance. Pokemon that spawn in the WoW, that spawn in the lore module, I should not be seeing them spawn in an instance. That's a major no-no. They need to cut that out. That needs to be done with. It should be the Pokemon that are reserved for instance. That should be the only Pokemon I should be seeing spawning from instance. And speaking of which, we need to have Pokemon that should only spawn from lure modules. Now, I don't care what it is. Now, but here's what I would suggest though. If for some odd reason, you know, they don't like the idea of 4 community day spawns, they want it to keep it up there at 10, lure module. If y'all want those community day spawns, put on a lure module and chill out the Pokestop. That, like, the lure module should be for community day spawns only or for certain Pokemon only. You know, and you know, they got these different type of lure modules, you know, the ice, the glacier, whatever the case may be. I'm pretty sure they can create a Goldfest edition lure module just for the weekend and say, hey, these Pokemon are spawning from these Goldfest lure modules this weekend only. And then boom, people will get those, whether they come for free or they have to buy them, whatever the case may be, and use them and get the Pokemon that they want from the lured up module, and that's it. It should not be Pokemon spawning around that also spawn in the lure modules. It should be lure module only Pokemon spawning from the lure modules. So that should be a thing. Now, another thing that should be a thing is this. So we talk about the instance only spawns. We talk about the lure module spawns. It's now time for a field research only spawn, or in this case, Pokemon that you can get from field research only. Now, we talk about, man, really the unknown. If you know, if the unknown gonna be that scarce to spawn from an instance, they need to be put in field research. They need to be put in field research. And the task that you have to complete should only involve catching Pokemon, and walking distance. That's it. It should not be involving hatching eggs. It should not involve doing raids. And for goodness sake, it should not involve anything PvP related. Team Go Rocket, Go Battle League, nothing like that. It should only involve catching Pokemon and walking distance. If you want to throw in there great throws, nice throws, excellent throws, so be it. Fine. But we need some field research tasks that rewards certain Pokemon that you can only get from field research tasks only. And that's pretty much it. Now the problem with that is once you complete it, you can't get it again from that field research task, which is probably true. So there's that, but that needs to be a thing. That needs to be a thing. And granted, not everybody gonna have a bunch of field research there, but you know, it might be a combination of, okay, the unknown can spawn from the instance and the field research task. You know, Pokemon spawning from the lure modules and the field research task, something like that. So we need to put those to use as well. And I mentioned Team Go Rocket and PvP. There should be no tasks involving Team Go Rocket or PvP at all. Field research, special, today tab, I don't care what it is. They should not be appearing at Global Goldfest. And there should be no Team Go Rocket members spawning at Pokestops. None at all. You know, we're trying to get the Pokemon there, and the Team Go Rocket grunt is in the way. We're trying to spin the Pokestop, but yet we have to deal with the dialogue. Like, no, that's a lot of time being wasted from us doing the most primary thing at Goldfest, which is shiny hunting. You know, now granted, I'll be honest, whether it's Niantic or the Pokemon Company or Nintendo or Gamefreak, what I'm guessing here, but what they want you to prioritize Goldfest on is hanging out with the community, you know, meeting the community, having fun with the community. Okay, but the problem is that's not, ironically enough, that's not the community's top priority. I mean, yeah, people have fun for doing that. Zoe Two Dots and Cricket and Fleece King out in Sydney and other people all around the world that were hanging out. Yeah, that's cool. No problem with that. But that's not the top priority. The top priority at a Goldfest is the shiny check. So we should not be getting Team Go Rocket or Team Go Rocket task or anything like that or PvP. You know, anything that's stopping us from shiny checking. That should not be the case at all. And there should be no evolved Pokemon showing up at Goldfest unless they're shiny. So I should not be seeing Alolan Muck or Grotto or Monferno or anything like that unless they are shiny. That's the only reason why I would see a evolved Pokemon showing up at Goldfest unless they're shiny. Because that's like 12 spots. You know, that's 12 Pokemon that should not be there and that should be gone. And those spots could be reserved from Pokemon who I want to actually look for. So there's that. And the shiny rates. The shiny rate, here's the thing. Goldfest is Pokemon Go's biggest event of the year. Now the Safari Zone is Goldfest. Because with Safari Zone, normally they are reserved for people who are going to that Safari Zone. People around the world can't take part in that. But Goldfest, originally, you can. Even though, like, yeah, you know, it's a better experience if you're there. And obviously, if you're going, you have to pay to take part in that. But people around the world can contribute to Goldfest for free in some way, shape, or form. That's at Goldfest. That's not Safari Zone. So therefore, the shiny rates for Goldfest should not be worse than the shiny rates at Safari Zone. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. This is the biggest event of the year. The shiny rates should be better or the same as Safari Zones. So that needs to be the case going forward. So with that out the way, how would I rate this year's Goldfest? First off, let's start off with the August 27th event. If you did not get Global Goldfest this weekend, should you pay $11 to take part in the August 27th event? And at this moment in time, I have to say no. Here's what I would suggest you do. Because here's the thing. People talking about, oh, there should be a makeup day, even though we got August 27th, which could be the makeup day. We don't know what's going on with August 27th. So what I would say to you guys on whether or not you should pay $11 or wherever the equivalent pricing is in your country, watch the live streamers who live in New Zealand and Australia and in Japan and see how the event is going for them. If the shiny rates are through the roof, you might want to get that $11 ticket. If they're not through the roof, no, don't get the ticket. Now, for everybody else who did pay $15 or the equivalent price in your country for Global Goldfest, which include this past weekend and the August 27th event, was this event was this event as a whole worth $15 despite not knowing what to expect on August 27th? And the answer to that is no. At the highest, I would say $10. You know, obviously that day one hurts. That day one spawn hurts. And we don't know what to expect from August 27th. I'm saying positive things to say, oh, they might increase the shiny rates for the roof. But then again, they might not do that at all. We have no idea what to expect on August 27th. Not at all. So I would say $10 at the most. That's how much, I would have paid for this ticket. Not 15. 15 is too high for everything that we've gotten so far. But 10 would have sufficed. So there you go with that. And here's what I think also needs to happen. Regarding the makeup day, or the people who say there should be a makeup day, whatever the case may be, one or two things. One of these two things need to happen. That August 27th event, we need information on that ASAP. We going to, we know that day one shiny rates was terrible, and day two was better than day one, which should not have been the case, which were not advertised. So the August 27th event, there is somewhat of a makeup event where the shiny rates will be through the roof. And in addition to the stuff that they had originally planned, will still take place on August 27th. So they need to come out and make a statement like that to save face, or we should just get a makeup day. it should be one of those two things, you know. So the August 27th event, the shiny rates need to be through the roof, and that could be our makeup day, or we need to have our own separate makeup day, because yeah, that day one spawn rate, shiny rates rather, was terrible. It was terrible. So again, the event is worth $10. I wouldn't say it was $15. I would say $10, and I would give it a C minus. Like it was barely acceptable. Day two saved it to a degree, but not enough to the point where it deserved a respectable grading. So C minus, that's what I'm giving it. If y'all think it's deserved lower, I would not go against you at all. But $10 and a C minus. That's where I'm at with this year's Global Goldfest at this moment in time, that is. And I'm gonna call it a wrap. So with all that said, y'all know what this is. This is boy New J Gatsby, aka New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see you. Oh, guys, I can't talk. My voice is shot. And I'll see y'all next time. Yeah, I'm gonna drink water. I'm gonna drink water after this. Take care. Thanks, man. After you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the bell icon so you never miss a new video or a live stream ever again. Thanks, guys.
Lewis the trainer, articulating paint. With my tongue, I done things that people said I can't. Now they rank 'em with the elite, but it's for the people, and victory is part of defeat. Cause when you get back on your feet, then you try again. Learn from mistakes, show 'em that I got what it takes, and I'm dying to win. I'ma hit and move away.